We're learning Perek Dal Halacha Tes. The Rambam says in Hilchos Chanukah, Ner Chanukah she'edliko chere shoyte v'koten nagoy ve'osa klum. Whether if somebody who's deaf and dumb, or an idiot, or is a minor, or a goy, he didn't do anything until. So we'll go down to the Pirush until it should be lit by someone who is chayiv in lighting it. The Maggid Mishnah cites Shabbos. Chav Gimel and Beis. Now that we say Adloka does the mitzvah, if the Chayri Shoyte V'Koten lit it, it's nothing. Isha, a woman can light. Now, the Machloek is if the lighting is the mitzvah, and therefore somebody has to do it who's chayiv mitzvahs, or placing it in the place is the mitzvah. It doesn't matter who lit it. If a person who's obligated lit it there, we pass in la halacha that the mitzvah is to light it, not to place it. That's why you should have it in place before you light it. The Agos Maimonides says that a woman can light. Damar Yeshua and Levi, they are chayiv and they're Chanukah. And we learned earlier in Perek Gimel Halacha Dalet and Perek Dal Halacha Aleph that somebody who doesn't do the minimum of one candle for the entire house has to do it according to the number of people in the house, whether they're male or female. Oy goy. Now the Bein Shloim asked the question, why is he mentioning goy? When the Gemara, the Rif, and the Rosh, and the Tur left it out. It's not usually the Rambam to add something on the Gemara. And he cites a Sifroi of the Orach Chaim, gives an answer. Today lighter because people have helpers, so they have to be careful on Hanukkah, but they can't tell the guy to light it for you. If he lit it inside and he took it out while it's lit and he left it on the entrance of the house, he has to light it in its place because the Adlok is the mitzvah. The Maggid Mishnah cites Shabbos. Amar if he lit it inside and he took it outside, he didn't do anything. Because Adloka ois a mitzvah, and he has to be madlik in the place in the correct place. The Agos Maimonides cites the Tur, who adds, since the main mitzvah is when you light it, you should light it only after it has a sheer shemen. And you shouldn't light it and put shemen in it afterwards as well, because then he hasn't lit the oil, even though there'll be enough to burn for later. Now, what happens if he held it in his hands? He stands there. People say he's doing it for illumination. And the Maggid Mishnah cites Shabbos 22b, Hashoshes. This was a nair that they had around it a protective glass, so the wind won't put it out. That was lit all day on Shabbos, but the Shabbos mechabim mavorech. So after Shabbos, I guess I don't know how they did it. They should last so long, the whole Shabbos, but they make a bracha on it birchas hadloka of Chanukah madliko shadloka yamitzav le'anochu. You know it's in its place from before Shabbos, before the Motzei Shabbos. Hadloka is the mitzvah. Shulchan Aruch paskins. Hadloka is the mitzvah, not putting it down. If it was in its place, not for the mitzvah of Chanukah, you can light it there, and he doesn't have to do it specially there for the mitzvah of Chanukah. Therefore, his torch, which was lit, burning all day, from Erev Shabbos, and on Motzei Shabbos he can put it out, and he can relight it for the mitzvah of Chanukah. And he has to do it, however, where it is already resting. If he did it inside the house and he took it outside, it's nothing. Because the person who sees him taking it out will say it's not a Chanukah left. And therefore, even though he sees it afterwards, he won't feel it's a Chanukah left. And if he lights it and holds it in his hands, he's not Yoitza, because he'll say he's doing it for his own purposes of illumination. A woman can light near Chanukah, because she is also chayiv in it, and therefore she can even fulfill the obligations of her husband. The Bi Halacha brings in brochas, from brochas, after brochas, 20a, that a woman can make the bracha for her husband, Beres Hamozon. The Chacham said that it's not the best way of doing things if he doesn't know how to bless himself, because why shouldn't he do it himself? What Abzera says, they lit light for me at home, what means he wasn't at the time of the home, or he wasn't in the area at the time of Hadloka, and the chiyuv is on the house, not where you are. Mechaber says if Cheyo Shoyte V'Kotten lit it, it's not correct, even though a Godel puts it down. Mishnah Berurah says that Hadloka is the reason is because we just said that the obligation of the mitzvah is to do the Hadloka and not place it down. And you have to malik the ner Chanukah. You can do so from a different ner Chanukah. The Ravid disagrees. Only if you use a match or a piece of kindling, that he lights the match from the ner Chanukah and lights something else. The Maggid Mishnah cites Shabbos Chav Beis Amud Aleph, and according to the Riv and the other poskim, even though Shmuel said it, and Rav disagrees, Halacha Rav legabi inyonei isur, since Rav Nachmani he did like Rav, and here he does like Shmuel. So even though usually here the halacha is like Shmuel, because Rav Nachmani, although he usually did like Rav, he did like Shmuel. So Shmuel is a compatriot who adds to him, and therefore the halacha is like him, and this is found in the Agoras Maimonides. The Maggid Mishnah cites that the Ravid comes to add not only from one candle to another is it can you light, but even through a match. You can also use a match, not that specifically a match. And he cites the Ramban and the Rashba, say that if you light a match, it's not a mitzvah, only directly from one candle to the other, and with oil, for example, with a long wick. Since he's doing a mitzvah without loka, it's mutter, but to light a match would be lighting something which is not a mitzvah, and you're using the ner Chanukah for something which is not a mitzvah. The Agoras Maimonides concludes the Gemara that you can use a match, and so we find in Sefer Truma and Sefer Mitzvahs, not only to light ner Chanukah to get it burning, even to light a ner of Shabbos or ners of Beis Knesses, you can do from ner Chanukah, because they're also ner mitzvah, so you're not benefiting yourself privately. I mean, similar writes that if it went out, the candle that you light with, you should not, the shamish went out, you should not light it from those that are already lit, but rather you should take from you should take one of those that are lit, you should light with that. You shouldn't light the shamish from those that are already lit. And he ends that states that Tosis in Shabbos Chav Gimel 23a permits you to light from candle to candle. However, they wrote that the minig is the machmeh, and you should not use the candle. I'm just going to begin learning some of what the Lechem Mishnah cites from Shabbos. Rav says you do not light from ner lener. Shmuel says you do. And one of the Rabbanim was sitting learning in front of Rav Ada Ba'av, and he said the reasoning of Rav is because it's Bizui Mitzvah. To use the Chanukah Lech is Bizui Mitzvah for the ner Chanukah. We continue on Kufay and Zion, where the Lechem Mishnah asks a question. We find in Hilchos Tfilim and Sofim that if the candelabra in the Beis HaMikdash went out, the western, the Ner Maravi, which is the first one that's lit and that's the one that lights all of the others, if the Beis HaMikdash went out, you do not light it after it was cleaned. How do you do it? And you can't do it from a different Ner that's next to it because of Bizoyan. So you see, there is a concept of utilize something that's already a mitzvah. And the answer is that since the question is not one of Bezoyim, but rather because the light is lessened, like Shmuel, who permits the light from Ner L'Ner, Kabaya V'Ravada B'Ahavo. And then they go on to ask other questions. So the Rambam is of the opinion, even the one who says that because Mishum Ikhushi, that it's because of lessening the light in a sense. When you light something else, you lessen the other light for a moment. You still need the reasoning of the Bezoin as well. He goes further into it. We'll go back to the Pirush in the Sefer HaKovetz, which is found at the end of the Maduas, Rambam Frankel. He cites that the Kiyat Sefer, the Mabit, wrote the reasoning of a Bizu Mitzvah could be from the Torah. We learn Bizu Mitzvah from Kisei Adam. If you shecht a wild animal or a bird, you have to cover it. In Shabbos, the Brisa brings it down, that with the hand that he slaughters, that's what he should cover the dam. He shouldn't do it with his foot, because otherwise it looks like the mitzvah is not choshev, not respectful in his eyes. Thus we find the source of the din of Bizu Mitzvah is Kisui Adam. The Mabit goes into the question that the Mabit writes, it could be that it's only forbidden Rabbanan. The posuk is an asmachta, it's not a real deraisa. And therefore, there they explain that the Rambam and the Raiva disagree according to their opinions elsewhere. Ma'aser Sheni, with the Rambam is machzmir, he's more stringent because he holds mitzvahs, Bizu mitzvahs, also not Torah, and therefore, Bayaz he says you shouldn't light with a kindling from the menorah. The Raiva, who says that Bizu mitzvah is the Rabbanon, and Chanukah is Mekel, even to light a kindling for other menorahs, other candles. The Shulchan Aruch in 674 says you can light from candle to candle. Mishnah Berurah explains from the second day and on that he has more than one candle. He can take from one to the other. Or the first night, he has two people in one house. Each one is doing for his own candle. One can light from the other. Even though you have to put it down first and then light. So how can you light from one to the other? Because the Taz is Mako that if it's just to move it over from place to place, from lighting it to putting it down, then you can do it from another candle and you don't have to be makbid it. And according to those who are of the opinion that on a small amount of time one should be careful, it's talking about that the wick, he's using a very long wick, and the wick will ultimately get over to the other candle, his candle. Mechaba forbids one to light from a Ner Chanukah from one Ner Chanukah to the other with a candle that's not being used for the Chanukah left. Mishnah Berurah says that if you do candle to candle without anything in the middle, there's no Bizu Mitzvah, because both of them are a mitzvah. The Shamish is called Ner Shel Chol, and therefore, if one of the candles went out, you should not take it from another one. You should not light it from others without something in the middle, even if it went within the time, because we're not obligated any longer to light it. And therefore, if you're lighting something which is not obligated, so you're not lighting a mitzvah. And therefore, you can't light it even from something that's lit. Mechaber cites, there are those who say that you can light a Chanukah left one from the other with an intermediary of a different candle, since you light the other candle and you move it over. That the problem is that if the Ner of Chol will go out before it gets to light the Chanukah lech, if there's a wind blowing outside, then you've got a problem that you've lit something without purpose, not for the purpose of mitzvah. Moshe says that people are machmer in B'neir's Chanukah not to light them even from Ner L'Ner, because Ika mitzvah is Ner Echod, and the rest is not a mitzvah as much. The Mechaber continues. There are those who say that a Ner of a Beis HaKnesset and Shabbos and Chanukah all have the same category of mitzvah. You can light one from the other. The Gemara adds That's true. When he lights the nair to learn Torah, or for a sick person, we also call nair's mitzvah. You can do it from nair to nair. Mishnah Berurah decides the issue. Only b'ner Chanukah you can't light nair to nair. But b'ner's mitzvah, others such as Shabbos or Beis HaKnesses, you light from one to the other. It's interesting. By your side left, there are those who don't want to light from one left to the other, even for the same person. And so the Chemed, Moshe, and the Chai Odom and the Mechaber say only there Hediot. You don't light from one candle from a candle of a Beis Knesses. But that would be a question on smoking also. Those people used to smoke. If they took from the nair that's in front of the shul, whether you can light on Yontiv their cigarettes, because you shouldn't be lighting from nair mitzvah for something that's not a mer mitzvah. The Mo does not disagree. So it would seem that he also says he's of the opinion that you don't have to be machmir that far. But the Pri Megadim says that you shouldn't use a intermediary of a weekday candle, even by other Neres mitzvah, and Neres Shabbat. And if a woman lights a few candles, and the nair that she lit with goes out, she shouldn't light it from the Ner Shabbos that she already lit, but rather she should light it from another source if she has such a source.